Welcome to Life Her Podcast, the podcast that guides you from the 9 to 5 grind to the freedom of your own path. Discover how to conquer life's challenges while pursuing your passions with unwavering faith. Because being an entrepreneur is not easy. So let's get to it.
Hey everyone, welcome to Life Her Podcast. I'm Yvette Lloyd. We have an amazing guest with us that is speaking, and he's going to talk about his transition from being incarcerated into the mayor's office. And he is doing amazing things. He's changing lives, building futures, making awareness for many individuals that have been incarcerated and just many people that could prevent them from being incarcerated. So right now we have Lamont Carey with us tonight. Hey Lamont, how are you?
Hey, how you?
I'm good. I'm
Thanks for having
good. Thank you. Well, I'm gonna just get right to it.
us go.
so, um, first, can you share your personal journey from being incarcerated and how did you end up in there?
So, uh, so I usually say that I was born in Washington D.C. but raised in prison. Uh, I think in short, I remember my father used to beat my mother, and when I was little, probably about 9 years old, I was like, when I get older, that I was gonna kill him. And so by the time I turned 10, he had died in a car accident, and I feel that my mother wasn't doing enough to take care of me, and I learned how to sell like drugs just by going outside and playing. And older guys took a liking to me, um, and eventually taught me how to sell, taught me how to protect it, uh, and that's how I ended up in prison. Like started getting into the gunplay and caught a charge at 16 years old. So that's how I first got into the criminal justice system.
Wow. So, during your time being gone, how many years did you do total?
Total, I did 11 years.
Wow. So, with your transition of you coming from being incarcerated for 11 years and coming out to the new world, what complications did you have adjusting to everything?
Uh, I think the main thing when I got released, well, not even before getting released, right? I'm like, I'm young, black, violent felony convictions. It's gonna be hard for me to do something, and so I ended up getting into college program and was taking business management, and they was talking about supply, demand, distribution, and I was like, I know that from the streets. And so my slogan had become keep your hustle but change your product. But as I got closer to getting released, because I had to go up for parole and nobody wanted to allow me to use their address. And so my cell buddy allowed me to use his people's address. And so I came home, released into homelessness. But I ran into a buddy that was staying in his mother's living room and he pulled me in there. And so it was rough, but I had this determination that regardless of what, this time I'm going to win, right? So whatever the odds was, I'm going to figure out how to come over them because as long as I am on this side of the gate, I have an opportunity to change my future versus me being in the penitentiary and not being able to change much of anything. And so I started like selling socks, right? I'm selling men's socks. Uh,
Oh,
and but men don't buy socks, right?
right.
And so when I finally got rid of all of them, I got little girl socks, and so I was selling more socks. And then I added watches, pocketbooks, and then before I came home, I was going to do this prison pen pal calendar, and so I ended up in this business center on how to help you start your business, and they was like, well, why don't I expand my idea and so I started this nonprofit called Contact Visits. And one day I went to meet with somebody that I thought was going to be able to help me take contact visits a little further. And he had this theater troupe, and somehow he got me to try it. And so I fell into the arts. Then I fell into spoken word, and then I appeared on Russell Simmons' Deaf Poetry Jam. Then I started making money from art, touring, and then I started doing motivational speaking programs. And then one day, uh, I got reached out by the mayor's office. Here I am.
Wow, that is amazing. That's really inspiring. I know a few people that has been incarcerated as well. I actually got married in federal prison a few
Wow.
years ago.
Okay.
Yeah, I did. And I know the transition could be kind of difficult because sometimes the life don't be the same, and then no telling about the different things that you've seen while you've been incarcerated, and sometimes it takes a toll on your mental health. What advice do you have for young men that is in a transitional phase or even while they're incarcerated, how important it is for them to stay educated?
So the first thing I would say, you got to figure out what your triggers are. And like I knew nothing about triggers until I was in the penitentiary, and now I'm trying to collect certificates for the parole board, and I ended up in an NA program, and they was talking about triggers. And uh, so my thing, what I would tell young men, older women, young women that's in the penitentiary, that regardless of what the world looks like that's going to be around you, you're going to have to utilize some of those same skill sets that you utilize in prison. Like when your patience started to run out, you're going to have to do some of those things that you did. Walk around a park, right? Shadow
Mhm.
box, work out, right? Because you can get over this, because in prison most people don't know that it is the most racially segregated place in the world, right?
Right.
uh I had never even really experienced that level of racism or division, or that level of gangs and beefing because of what state you from. But you eventually learn how to navigate that. And so for individuals that are in the process of coming home, the biggest tool that you have for you to be successful is your ability to endure, your ability to read people, your ability to separate yourself from individuals that you feel could be harmful to you. Because out here in freedom is where all the opportunities reside. And so if you don't want to go back to take your clothes off, drop, squat, spread, and cough, right? Because that's what's waiting in prison when you come home, right? If you go back, that is the first thing degrading you, which became normal after a time, going to be waiting for you. So everything that life throws at you out here, you can endure it. Our success racket on overcoming barriers are already 100%, but the biggest challenge is going to always be us, our ability to slow ourselves down, our ability to really read people and not feel that you have to commit to something that you don't want to commit to. And so it takes us to make sure that we making the right steps in order for us to be successful out here. And when I mean successful out here, I mean waking up in freedom, right?
Right.
Every day that you wake up in freedom, you're already successful. And just build upon that. And all the things that you want is going to come. You're going to get some no's. You got no in the penitentiary, right? You're going to
Mhm.
get denial access, but all it really takes is one yes to change your life. But that first yes got to come with you, that you willing to bet on you, that regardless of what you're going to go through, you're going to make your way through
Yes, that is amazing. I thank you for those words because a lot of people need it, and they don't really get to hear it often, especially from a voice of a person such as yourself. Um, so you've worked in spoken word artists, and you even collaborated with artists like Kendrick Lamar. How has art played a role in your life in advocacy work?
it. So even before I came home, art, uh, I fell into art in prison, right? Out of boredom. I tried to rap, couldn't rap. at all. And so, but the dude told me I tell great stories, so he challenged me to write a book, right? And
Right.
so I wrote a book about capers, something that I knew about, and I let him read it. And then his cell buddy wanted to read it, and so that kept me writing. But the beauty with writing, like I first learned to advocate for myself, right? I had to figure out how to deal with my own demons, like how to get control of my anger, how to think long term, how to plan long term. And writing books kind of gave me that tool, right? And so when I came home, art became an additional tool for me to do advocacy. To be honest with you, that wasn't my intent to advocate, right? My
Right.
intent was to come home, sell millions of copies of book, and go lay on somebody's beach and just stare out into the ocean, right?
Right.
But I made this promise with God. I was like, if you help me through this, I promise you that I'm going to change. But I didn't read the fine print, and so uh, God wanted a return on his investment. And so I ended up in the art space making jokes off of poets, and I was challenged to come up to the microphone, and so I made up a poem. And I think the poem was called I Hate This Place. And it was a story about a young boy uh, that wanted to get out of his community so bad that he will poison the people in his community, right? And so I didn't know that was advocating, but that connected
Mhm.
to a lot of young people, older people about this plight of this young boy. And then when I did this poem called I Can't Read, and that's the piece that got me on Deaf Poetry Jam. And so my intentions wasn't initially were to advocate. I just wanted to talk about things that I know. First, I wanted to make up something so I won't look like a fool. But then, uh, and then it came about telling stories that poets wasn't telling, because most of them were like real artsy looking dreads, things of that nature. And they was talking about lay you across the moon and suck raindrops from your feet. I knew nothing about that. I don't touch feet. I don't know that, right? And so uh, I talked about things that I knew. And
Right.
so I was advocating and didn't even realize that I was advocating.
Wow. So, what are some of the most significant challenges returning citizens face, particularly Black men, when reintegrated into society?
Fear.
Wow.
Fear is the biggest one. Most people say housing, employment, but fear, right? Because we're told um, that we got to change people, places, and things, and that we got to leave our past behind us. But the problem with that is sometimes we can't change the people because they are our family, and that's the house that we only have to go back to. Uh, Places, because we the environments that we come from, a lot of our people don't always financially elevate outside of those environments, so we have to come back. Things are easy to change, but the one thing that I learned, once you change your thinking, all of those other things look different to you. And so, fear, because most of the time we're young when we go to prison, we haven't had
Mhm.
real work experience, any real life experience, and people telling us that our whole past was bad. And so we have to leave that behind. And so sometimes you'll find returning citizens become dependent on other people, right? And it's
Right.
because they're not sure how they're supposed to move, because all they know is the things that they learned in prison and the things that they experienced in the street, and they don't want to go back to that. But there are some transferable skills throughout of our lives that even I apply to this day that help me create the life that I'm currently living. So fear is the biggest one. The second one that most people don't uh, talk about sometimes it's family, because family is
Mhm.
the last ones to believe that you changed, right? You
Yeah.
can find an employer to give you a job eventually. You can find a place that'll rent to you, but your family remember who you were before you went in. And so it takes
Mhm.
for the mug shot of you to vanish from their head. And then sometimes our parents, our spouses are so afraid of us going back to prison that they almost like micromanage us, right? And
Right.
and so sometimes that's crippling. Like for me, when I moved into one of my people's house, I used to come out. I used to like start tiptoeing around the house because I didn't want to feel or be a bother to her. So I try to stay out of her way. So if I come out of the house to do something, I'll try to come in the house when I think she's asleep, right? Just so she won't be reminded that I'm there. Just so she won't say, "I thought you said you was gonna work any job, right?" And so people think that we naturally just go back around the old way, and that is not always the case. Sometimes we go back around the old way, trying to wait our peoples out until they go to sleep in the house. And so, the biggest things, one, again, is fear. Two, sometimes that family support. And then three, I think the employment and housing, because some of that pressure also comes from our family, right? They be
Yeah.
excited that we just came home. But in their mind, all right, get your ID, find you a job, move out. But it ain't that
Yeah.
easy. It is not that easy. And so for me, just being able to learn how to have a conversation with my family to say what I'm really feeling, what I'm really up against, and what kind of work I really want to do kind of help them see where my thoughts were and how they could be most supportive.
Wow. So, did you have children before you
No,
left? You
uh-uh.
didn't? Okay. Because I was going to ask you, like, how did you adapt to that? Sometimes people don't adjust too well either.
But I had
Uh,
a child afterwards,
oh,
and
did
it,
you?
yeah, and it still was a struggle, right? Um, because how I grew up, I had to suppress, right? Because little boys don't supposed to cry. Sometimes moms, grandma, auntie tell us that we the man of the house, that right, and so we take on what we think that man is. And when you say you a big boy, big boys don't cry, so that teaches us how to suppress, right?
Right.
And so it also teaches us how to disconnect. And so when I got into the street life, that also taught me how to suppress, how to disconnect. And the only thing that was acceptable for me to display was anger, right? It
Right.
wasn't love, it wasn't sorrow, it wasn't none of those things. It was only anger that was acceptable. And then you get in an environment like prison, right? Where you can't exhibit that stuff as well. And so when you come home, where I, speaking for me, I suffered from abandonment issues, right?
Right.
Because the people I would have killed for, the people I would have died for wasn't coming to see me, wasn't writing me letters, right? And so when I get released, I'm still struggling on how to embrace or how to release what I'm feeling, because all of these different worlds that I have lived in taught
Mhm.
me that a man doesn't show any weaknesses. And even though writing helped me get in touch with my emotions, but that what doesn't mean that I'm going to display them in the public setting, right? And
Right.
so when I had my son, I struggled, right? I struggled on what that emotional connection was supposed to be like. Like, how do you have a conversation with the kid, right? And then the kid turns into a 5 year old. How do you have the conversation? And so we did more things together than me sharing emotions. Like even now, uh, it's still a struggle, right? And I've been home
Right.
a while, but some of that stuff is still embedded, and I'm still trying. to unravel it.
Wow. Thanks for being honest because sometimes people don't admit that they still struggling to adapt to society after the transition and still been out here for years. Do you also have issues like looking at people superior, thinking they as far as like guards, how they treated people incarcerated, and then when you come home, does it affect you as well when it comes to certain people?
So no,
That's
but I do see it with a lot of the clients that come into my agency. When you come into our building, you got to go through the metal detector. And I
right.
noticed that a lot of the conflict that they have is with the guards because it's a reminder of prison going through the metal detector, right? Because some prisons, some guards can be horrible, right?
Right.
And it sticks with you. Uh, but I learned while in there, I eventually learned how to like navigate, how to not violate the guards rule and how not to violate the convict rules. And so encountering police or security guards, it didn't take me back to that place. Now if you say something slick out your mouth, that may trigger, but I've also learned, like I said from those NA class, how to how to how to try to remove myself from an environment that can trigger me any further.
That's good. So, how does the mayor's office of returning citizens affairs help bridge the gap for those re-entering society, especially in the terms of housing, employment, and education?
So DC is the most amazing place in the world for returning citizens. And
Wow.
and my boss, who is Mayor Muriel Bowser, gave somebody like me an opportunity to lead an agency where I'm supposed to help individuals like me. And the charge that she gave me was a pathway, put them on a pathway to the middle class. So it's not just about successfully re-entering society, but it's about how do you elevate yourself and become the person that you want to become and be a contributing member of society. So some of the
Wow.
basic things that we help with: ID, birth certificate, learners, driver's license, CDL, connecting to mental health services, connecting to substance abuse services. And so that's my case managers, right, that handle those kind of things. We even help with like transportation. We have this things called smart trips that you would give to individuals to get on the metro, right? So they can get around because most of us don't have money when we come home. We also had this
Mhm.
program called Promise Ride where you can get a free cab ride to and from a destination as long as it was connected to reentry. And then I have my workforce team who's responsible connecting you to education, training, and employment. And so we're on our sixth cohort, what is called the Morka Georgetown Paralegal Program. So we're teaching returning citizens how to be paralegals. And we know most of when we're in the institution, we're working on our cases, but this gives the opportunity to learn the skill further and have a fellowship with some of the top law firms in the district. The other
Wow.
thing is CDL. A lot of our people, we listen because we find out what's working on the compound. So we know that CDLs is popular on the compound because that means somebody came home, got a CDL license, and came home to be successful. So now everybody want to come home and
Mhm.
drive a truck, right?
Right.
So we have partners where we're able to help individuals to get their Class A and Class B CDL. Tomorrow we have what is called Pathways to the Middle Class, where one of our partners come in and teach about investing. Tomorrow the focus is on gold and silver and how not to be scammed and things of that nature. And so we
Mm.
try to figure out what it is that the individual wants. Not what they say initially, because sometimes our people say, I just want a job. It doesn't matter, any kind of job. And if we're able to get them employed in a place that they really don't want to work, they're going to leave that job. It can damage the relationship and we can't get nobody else through. So my team is responsible for asking, if they say they don't know what it is that they want to do, they just want to work, they're required to ask them, well, what was it that you wanted to do when you was in that cell? Right? Because we have focused on freedom in that cell, right? Or how much money that you want to make. If you can say how much money you want to make, we can pull up what industries or occupations that is paying that level of money, and you need to do all of this to get that kind of money, right? And so we try to be innovative in our approach on how we help returning citizens uh, to navigate. Then one of the other biggest things that we have done is returning citizens have the right to vote. DC residents, whether you're incarcerated, serving 17 life sentences, you can vote. And the power of being able to vote, you can vote on a politician that has your best interests at heart, right? And
Right.
so, because we have the right to vote and exercise the right to vote, we have what is called like IRA, the Individual Reduction Amendment Act, for individuals that was convicted as adults when they were under the age of 18 to long prison sentences. Because of that law, now we have hundreds of individuals who have able to regain their freedom, and a lot of them are thriving because that was successful. Then we had second look for individuals that were under the age of 25. And so all of this been able to come into existence because returning citizens and their family started voting for individuals like my boss, Mayor Muriel Bowser, who want to give returning citizens a second chance. And so those are the things that my agency is dedicated to, is helping our population regain as much of their freedom returned to them, restored to them as possible. And the ultimate goal is that all of their freedom is restored. Right now, we're working on helping individuals apply to receive a pardon.
Wow. That is amazing. So what changes or reforms do you believe are crucial for improving the criminal justice system and the reentry process for like formerly incarcerated individuals?
So so there are several things in this, and this is one of the things that I had the pleasure of working with the courts and the prosecutors with, is grand jury, right?
Right.
Before I got in this office, you had to be 10 years off of supervision before you could participate in the grand jury. Now there's 1 year off of supervision, right? With the goal is to remove that barrier as a whole. But in order to transform the criminal justice system, we have to continue to create programs and opportunities so that individuals won't see the criminal justice system as a pathway, right? And I say that
Right.
to say I knew I was going to prison because my neighborhood honored and celebrate individuals who went to prison. It was, he's a man, he survived this, and so I knew that that was going to be part of my story. But that's giving young people bad game, right? And so,
Yeah.
in order to really transform the criminal justice system, we have to empower not only just young people, because people say, well, the young people don't have nothing to do. In the district, there are a plethora of programs that is being funded by the mayor for the young people to do. Everything from barbering, starting your own business, uh, cell phone repair, like all of these different things. And I think we need a community approach and
Mm.
encouraging young people to participate in that thing. So for me, having alternative programs that young people can participate in. But one of the bigger things for me is helping the community, the adults in the community, to know their role is to be adults in the community. We have young people that in our community that we watch them become this innocent little kid to this monster, and then we want them removed from the community. But we know that grandma is too old. She
Yep.
really doesn't have no support in raising these two kids. But we talk about grandma. We not supporting grandma, trying to find the resources to help her. And so then you have a young kid that feels like I did as a kid, that grandma can't take me or moms can't take care of me. I'm gonna go out here and take care of myself, right? And so for me,
Right.
it is programming, trainings, community teaching adults in the community that they can engage, because they say, well, Director Curry, if I say something to one of them, they gonna kill me. It ain't about what you say; it's how you
How
say it.
you say it.
And our young people feel invisible. So you can start off just by saying, "How you doing? Good morning. Good afternoon." They gonna ignore you, but if you stay consistent, they gonna eventually give you the head nod. They gonna eventually
Mhm.
say something back. And so we have to, in my opinion, we have to learn how to uh, be not be fearful of our own children. And then the biggest thing for me is that is learned through media platforms, right? They see the news, and there's
Yeah.
over here, there's a carjacking over here, and so they become fearful of the kids that outside. But the reality is, the average person that live in that community is not being harmed by those young people that's out there, right? Who knows
Right.
your schedule better than those young people? They know what time you go to work. They know what time you come home. They know who your kids are. They know who your relatives are that you mess with. They even know who you creeping with, right?
Yep.
So if they know when you're gone, how many times have your house been broken into? How many times your car has been broken into? And sometimes we have this fear of the young people that's in our community that poses no threat to us. They're probably more looking out for us than they are to harm us. And so I just think there has to be some re-education as a whole on our communities, and so that we can figure out how we better support us. Because if the children are our future and we leaving them to figure it out on their own, this future ain't been looking too good.
Yeah, I agree because the kids they're missing love. They missing love. They the attention and like you said, the grandparents are raising them, and now like some moms don't even want to raise their kids. I have a daycare center, and I have a lot of dads that have custody of their children now too. So
Hmm.
it's a lot of things that's just shifting a lot, and it's just we just got to get readjusted and a lot more leaders, authentic leaders, ones that's being honest and actually doing the work. And sometimes that can be difficult too,
Right,
because sometimes people forget their why, like why
right,
you started and continue on and do the work within the community and just getting word out there. It takes a village to be able to do it, but it takes a village of authentic people that have the same driving mission and knowing their own position instead of taking over someone else's. Sometimes the adults get in the way too when it
right.
comes to leadership.
And I think for our community, uh, we sometimes we frowned upon having a leader,
Yeah.
right? Why I can't be the leader,
Yeah.
right? I think we just need more of individuals that's doing the work,
Mhm.
right? I don't have to be the one that's always in front of the microphone. I don't have to be the one that is identified as the person that you need to contact in order to get something done. I will prefer to empower my staff to meet the needs of the individual. That way, it ain't a longer wait trying to get to me. And so, the other thing that you said that I love is there are a lot of myths out there about black men, because if you go, as you like you said, you have a daycare. I have been at a stoplight in the morning during school time, and I see young fathers
Yes.
pushing the stroller with one, holding the hand of the other one with the backpack all over Washington D.C., making
Mhm.
sure that that kid is getting to school safely. And so, but but what it said is that black men are not involved in their kids' lives.
Yeah.
Black men leave their kids. I'm telling you, I have been in 11 penitentiaries, and all the men in there that have kids are planning, are dreaming of coming home and being able to begin to take care of not only their kid but their family member, right?
Yeah.
So much to a point that they put this pressure on themselves that sometimes make them move faster than they
Mhm.
should be when they come home, right? No individual just walking out of the penitentiary should feel like I have to go take care of my mother. I have to go
Right.
take care of these kids. Once you put yourself in a position, my thing is have a conversation with your loved ones, right? Figure out what the needs are, but explaining to them what it is that you're trying to do. Because once you put yourself in a position where you got a job, then you can start giving some money. Once you get a
Yeah.
better job, you can start giving more money. But the thing that I learned that a kid want more than anything is for you to be present.
Yes, definitely. And I've witnessed and seen a few things. When individuals coming home, families expect so much from them. Even financially, or even when they start working, they want them to just start paying bills automatically. And I think families with loved ones that have come home, I think they need some sort of classes and um, learn how to communicate with individuals that have been incarcerated, because they really don't understand and they really don't know how to communicate with them also properly, instead of belittling them and making them feel less of a man or a woman, and just putting them down instead of just uplifting them and having some
Right.
sort of faith. And also when it comes to children, you have moms that get upset when men come home and they don't want to be in a relationship with them when they focus on themselves. And then some men get bombarded with child support instantly. It's just a lot that men go through from coming home being incarcerated, and it needs to be more awareness of it, more vocal of many things of what you guys go through as far as coming home, because I feel like a lot of people are self-centered and selfish when it comes to certain things.
Right. I totally agree. So it's not just it's men and women, right?
Right.
A lot of times the women come home and some family members like, here go your child,
Yep.
right? And she don't have nothing. And so, and also with men, so we still get men that come in that may say, hey, can y'all help me get a job? But I need a job that's paying on the table. When they say that, I know they owe child support,
Yep.
right? And so now we have uh two legal organizations that comes into our agency that focuses on child support, child custody, parentage, divorce, right? And so because they believe that child support is going to take all of their money, that is not the case, right?
Right.
But I think one of the things that we have been trying to encourage organizations to do is to start family reunification support groups, right? So the family don't see what they don't see, right? They
Right.
don't see the transformation that an individual making. Because sometimes when you call home, they hear what they heard their father say, and then their father came home and got locked back up. And so a lot of times family think it's jail talk, right?
Right.
And they don't understand that when I come home and I come into your house, you're saying, like you said, I am giving you a month to
Mhm.
get your ID, to get all of those documents, and by the second month, you should have a job. By the third month, you should be saving money for you to get out my house, right? And here
Right.
goes some bills. But
Yeah.
guess what? The moment that we walk out of the penitentiary, everybody is ushering us to get the ID, ushering us to get the birth certificate, ushering us to get a job, ushering us to find a place to live. But guess what they haven't took into an account?
What's
that
that?
we just came from this whole new other world
Yep.
where all of this drama, trauma, violence, take take them to go walk in a park in the grass with their shoes
Hmm.
off. Take
And
them to go experience, like, embrace being free. But it's a rat race when we come home. Gotta do this, gotta hurry up and get that, gotta hurry up and do this. And so we never really get to adjust that we free.
yeah, that is true. So, could you tell me what are some of your proudest accomplishments that you've achieved so far in this role?
I mentioned a lot of them. So when I first, when I first got in this agency, my staff was, I think, 7. Now I have a staff of 19 because
Nice.
the mayor saw the value in that I needed more people in order to service my wounded population, right?
Right.
We've already saw 5,000 people this year, and it is not mandatory for them to come to my agency.
Right.
They come because they've heard that we're there to help, right? And
Right.
so that is a big accomplishment, that the traffic has increased, and so it's saying, showing that we are having success with helping people. So two, my staff has grown to help us to better serve individuals. We have gotten countless individuals employment. We've helped countless individuals find jobs. We have unlimited amount of individuals with those initial documents that they need, like the birth certificate. You can get a voucher from us that pays for the license. You can get a voucher from us that pays for the learners and so forth. And you can get into this free CDL classes. You can get into free paralegal program, and even this investment program that we've started. And those that want to be entrepreneurs, we put them into entrepreneurial program. So the proudest moments for me is not the programs that we created or the partnerships that we created, but that individual that comes back and be like, Director Curry, man, I just bought my first car. Director Curry, man, I just moved into my own place. I ain't got to sleep on nobody's couch, right?
That's
Director
amazing.
Curry, man, this person made me mad as I don't know what, but I walked away. Slim, I stayed focused. I ain't going back. Those are the victories that I can't really hold up, right? I can easily hold up the numbers, but I rather hold up the successes. And in Washington, D.C., I'm telling you, it is probably the most progressive place that I
Wow.
have ever been for returning citizens, because we got returning citizens that are millionaires. Most of the reentry programs that are run in DC are ran by returning citizens that receive funding from my boss, Mayor Muriel Bowser, right? And so if you want it and you're determined, you can make it happen in Washington, D.C. If you're a DC resident and you are returning citizens, because we got programs from prenatal to death.
Mm.
Well, we got a plethora of returning citizens that have come home, and not all of them are directors of government agencies. Not all of them are millionaires. Some of them are blue collar individuals that make more money than I make, right?
Right.
Some of them are people that get up and go work at the Walmarts, get up and work at the McDonald's, that came in as somebody that's sweeping the floor and now they're a manager, or they're on the cash register. And it may seem small, but we're talking about individuals that have been denied because of, I had an armed robbery charge, right? Or I
Mhm.
had this kind of a bank robbery charge. And so to get a job as a cashier, to that person, that may say there has been a shift. right? And so
Right.
the things that I'm most proud of is that I know within this last year we have helped 5,000 individuals get on that pathway to successful reentry. And the last that I checked, we had like 487 individuals, I think, that we registered to vote, right? That
Wow.
said they didn't see a value in the vote until we explained it.
That is
So
amazing.
that's what I'm most proud of. Oh, and the majority of my staff are returning citizens, and the rest of
Mm.
them are either family members or advocates of returning citizens. So we have individuals that have lived the experience and
Um,
individuals that have supported individuals from the experience that can connect to the individual because our population isn't walking in my agency talkative. Some of them
mm,
you got to pull teeth, right? Because
right.
of what I said, we're not used to saying, I need help. I can't do this. But when they find out that you are a returning citizen, or you are a family member of a returning citizen, or you are an advocate of returning citizen, it helps them to open up more. And when they open up more, it changes the safety in our community. It decreases the crime and violence in our community. It helps connect parents back to their kids and grandparents having the
Mhm.
opportunity to experience their grandkids, right? And so when you give a returning citizen a chance, you don't just change that person's life, you change that family, you change that community, you
Yeah.
change that state with a simple yes, because we're some of the most loyal and committed employees. As long as you're connecting us with something that we can do, right? Or something
Right.
that you can train us to do, because we're trying to prove something to ourselves that I ain't who I used to be, and we're trying to prove something to that employer and to our family that I am not who I used to be, that I'm going to work my tail off, and you see it. If
Mhm.
you come to Washington, D.C., I will show you a plethora of men and women who have done 50 years, 35 years, 5 years, 2 years, that you can bet on that if you hire, they're gonna help you grow your bottom line. If you rent to them, they're gonna make sure that your rent, that you receive your rent. If you give them the opportunity to add their voice, they can tell you
Mhm.
the legislation that needs to be pushed. So giving a returning citizen an opportunity is I'm not looking for you to give them a second chance. I'm asking you to give them an opportunity to change your life, right? Because
Yes.
now we live in a society where everybody's afraid. We got alarms on our houses, bars on
Mhm.
our window, cameras on our door, alarms on our cars, and you wonder who's incarcerated,
Yep.
right?
Mhm.
And so when you give a returning citizen an opportunity, you change the landscape, you change the quality of life, and we just need more people to take on that opportunity to understand that returning citizens really want a shot.
Yeah.
And give us a shot, we can show you how amazing that we really are. And so that's what I'm most proud of.
Wow. So, what is your vision for Mocha in the coming years, and how do you plan on to expand the impact on the community?
So my, like I mentioned earlier, my boss said pathway to the middle class, right? She
Yes.
don't even say successful reentry. She say
Mhm.
pathway to the middle class. And so we're building that. We're
Yes.
partnering with government agencies and nonprofits and for-profits to teach returning citizens entrepreneurship skills, right? But I have a conversation with them like, look, some of our people have sold something in the past. So it's not that big of a stretch, right? Some of our people have branded things, right? Some of our people know security. So it's not like they're coming with this empty canvas. It's just
Mhm.
you gotta know the language to get them to make the connection, right? And
Right.
so for the future, what we're looking at, helping more returning citizens to apply for pardons so that the president can forgive them for their record.
Mm.
Continue to increase returning citizens and voter registration so that they can vote. And the goal is to have more to try to run for public office, right? The other thing is first time home buyers, right? We're looking
Yeah.
at we help returning citizens own their own home. And so, and starting careers. What is it that you really want to do so that we can help you? And so the ultimate goal for me, for Morka, is how uh, that I give them, help them create the dream that they have for themselves. Because the dream that they have for themselves, as I mentioned earlier, changes the entire country.
Changes. Yeah. So, if you could go back in time and speak to your younger self, what advice would you offer?
The advice that I would offer my younger self is I would say, Slim, come here, Shawty. Let me holler at you real quick. You know that if you make this other decision, that you ain't got to start over 11 years later to get your life on. So right now, right, you angry because your father used to beat your mother and you ain't understand why your mother still allowed him to sleep with her, right? That fueled your anger because you perceived it as you ain't gonna never be perceived as weak. Shorty, you the strongest person that I know. And if you just trust in yourself, all of these things that you despised in your community, that you can make a way out of it. But if you choose to get back in this drug game, if you choose to start using these guns, you're going to prison and you're going to have to start over. You're going to have to deal with your inability to connect sometimes emotionally with people, right? You're going to have this amazing son that look exactly like you that you want to protect from going down that same path, and you're going to be willing to do everything in your power to help him.
Yeah.
But if you make this decision that you're about to make tonight, you're going to have people shooting at you. You're going to have people trying to rob you. And you're going to have the police looking for you. And you're going to be, by the end of the week, you're going to be naked in front of strangers where you bent over, spreading your butt cheeks, and they looking to see if you got something when you cough, going to poke out your behind. You're going to, if you make this decision that you thinking of, for the next 11 years you're going to be forced to sleep with individuals that you don't know if they in there to kill you, so you're going to learn to sleep lighter where you never really get to have a deep night's sleep, right?
Yeah.
Shorty, you are so smart, you are so talented, and you can be anything that you want to be, but I just need you to make another decision than the one you're thinking of making right now.
Wow. That was powerful. That was
Yeah.
real powerful. So, how can the public support and work for or work with Morca in a reentry process for formerly incarcerated individuals?
So one, what I want to tell the public, this is not a get rich scheme. This is not something that you get into because it's popular, because we're dealing with individual lives. But if you sincere on helping returning citizens, let me tell you some of the things that we need. Returning citizens are not allowed to get on computers while they're in prison. So
Mm.
there's a technology gap that is mind blowing. So what we need your help with, the average returning citizen has 3 email addresses because when they created them, they don't know what they did with the password. So
Wow.
teach them how to store a password. Teach them how to utilize that phone. Teach them how to send an email. Teach them how to do spell check. Teach them how to interview, right? What I need from you for when you're trying to work with returning citizens, not to not I don't need you to say, hey, I could have been in prison too. I made some bad decisions, right?
Right.
I need you to talk about that time when you could have made this bad decision, why you didn't make it. I don't need you to try to simulate to win return to citizens over. I need your help in helping return to citizens build their skill set, build their confidence, and then help them get connected. So what I need from you, all your listeners, I need you to talk to employers that you know, to tell them, do you know that returning citizens have worked the entire time that they were in prison?
Hmm.
Some of us for $17.50 a month.
Yep.
Or they have went to school. So do they know how to be on time at work? Yes.
Yeah.
Can they come to work and give they all? Yes. Right? But what I need you to understand is when you initially hire them, this is where your listeners can come in at too. We need bus passes, train passes, so that we can get to and from. It's one thing to get a job, but if you can't get to it and get back from it, then it's going to be hard to keep it.
Yep.
The other thing that we need from you all, returning citizens come in all sizes. You got some nice suits, you got some nice button-down shirts, you got some nice dresses, you got some nice shoes that you can help them prepare for a job interview. And not just the clothes that I want you to help with, but teaching them how to properly interview,
Hmm.
teaching them when you're looking at that resume, when you're looking at that job description, that's what you go in that interview and talk about. You don't talk about, oh man, it's my second chance. I'm trying to do the right thing. I'm trying to take care of my family as an employer. I care nothing about that. I just want to know if you can help me fill this position that I have open. So I need you to help us with transportation. I need you to help us with employers to give them the courage to take a chance on us, to hire us, help us with the clothes. But I also need you to make sure that you have a conversation with your loved one that's incarcerated. If your loved one is incarcerated and they don't have a high school diploma, and you sending them money and you're going to visit them and you ain't getting no return on your investment, then you ain't preparing them for reentry.
Reentry. Yep.
You should be encouraging them to get that GD. You need that as a minimum. You should be encouraging them to take a trade. If you know they got substance abuse issues, why aren't you making sure that they get in the NA or AA program?
Yeah.
Right? You know them, you know what they need, and they need more. They got to build on those skill sets that they have to come out here to have a chance. Because when you come out here without a GED, it is extremely hard for me to help them get on the pathway to the middle class if they don't start their own business. And it's hard for them to get a above minimum wage job when they don't have the GED, the high school diploma. So the more that you can help us to encourage your loved ones to get those things, and the beauty I'm going to tell you, most of us read our first book in prison.
Wow.
Most of us get a GED in prison. And guess what? Remember, most of us are school dropouts. Whether it's elementary to high school, we dropped out of school. Most of us have been in special ed. So to get that GED or high school diploma while in prison, that shifts confidence.
Yeah.
That makes us hungry for education. That's how we get in the college program. So family members with a loved one that's in prison that you're helping support while they're in prison, I'm asking you to ask for a return on your investment.
Yeah.
Those of you that's in the community, I'm asking you to help us make the connections that's going to make it easier for your loved one to get a second chance. If you don't believe that they deserve a second chance, how can we convince society that they deserve a second chance? And they deserve it because they lived through everything that they went through and they are not the person that they used to be. And I need you to see us as we are. We are men
Mm.
and coming home that really want to create a life for ourselves. And we just want an opportunity, not a handout, but an opportunity to thrive, excel, achieve, and win. Because we winners. We survived the streets, we survived the penitentiary. Now we coming home to survive the remainder of our lives. And all we ask you to do is join forces and give us a shot.
Wow. So, how can someone get in contact with you and get involved?
So the best way to contact me is email, and that is lamont.carey@dc.gov. So that's LAMONT.CAREY at dc.gov. The other thing is look for us on social media. Our handle is Morca, Morca. And so you can Google us, the mayor's office on returning citizens affairs. That's how you find us. Come and have a seat with us, and let's see how we can work together to change the life either of your loved one or the people you want to help us change lives of.
Wow. Well, thank you so much. I enjoy our conversation. I love how you educated individuals that's coming out or incarcerated or even being in incarceration and reentry. You done covered everything. And I know it's so much more to it, but I really appreciate you and I thank you
Thank
so
you.
much.
Thank you, love.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in to Life Hurt Podcast. Have a blessed day and follow us on all social media platforms. Have a blessed day.
Welcome to Life Her Podcast, the podcast that guides you from the 9 to 5 grind to the freedom of your own path. Discover how to conquer life's challenges while pursuing your passions with unwavering faith. Because being an entrepreneur is not easy. So let's get to it.